It's a strange feeling, isn't it? You open YouTube, scroll through forums, maybe skim a few Reddit threads, and suddenly it feels like the DJI Mini 6 Pro is already out. People are arguing about it, comparing specs, even debating whether it's worth upgrading, all for a drone that technically doesn't exist yet. That's the kind of anticipation we're dealing with here. But here's the real question. Are we getting carried away, or is DJI Mini 6 Pro actually preparing something that changes the rules again? Let's break it down. The Mini series has always lived in a very specific lane, compact, under 249 grams, and just powerful enough to make you forget you're flying something this small. But somewhere along the way, expectations shifted. The release of the Mini 5 Pro didn't just improve the lineup, it blurred the line between mini and professional. And now, instead of asking what's next, the community is asking something more ambitious. How far can DJI push this before it stops being a mini at all? So when rumors about the Mini 6 Pro started circulating, bigger sensors, longer battery, smarter AI, it didn't feel like speculation. It felt like a preview. If you spend enough time in drone communities, you'll notice something interesting. The conversation around the Mini 6 Pro isn't just hype, it's divided. Some believe a launch is imminent, while others think it's way too soon. And honestly, both sides have a point. On one hand, DJI typically follows a fairly predictable upgrade cycle. Looking back, there's usually a gap of around 18 to 24 months between major Mini releases. With the Mini 5 Pro arriving not too long ago, a 2026 launch, especially early 2026, feels optimistic. Many experienced users are already calling it, don't expect anything substantial until 2027. But speculation doesn't stop just because logic says, wait. Leaks and discussions are painting a picture of a drone that pushes right up against the physical limits of the sub 250 gram category. Not a small upgrade. A statement. One of the most talked about possibilities is a larger sensor. While some dreamers are throwing around APS-C ideas, which, let's be real, is extremely unlikely in this size, a more refined 1-inch or slightly improved stacked sensor seems far more realistic. That alone would elevate image quality significantly, especially in low-light scenarios. Then there's the resolution debate. 8K gets mentioned a lot, but it feels more like wishful thinking than a grounded expectation. More believable? Something in the 5.7K to 6K range, not just for resolution bragging rights, but for oversampling into sharper, cleaner 4K footage. Another recurring idea is dual camera integration. It's something users clearly want, a wider perspective combined with a tighter, more cinematic option. But fitting that into a lightweight drone without pushing it over regulatory limits? That's where things get complicated. Beyond imaging, leaks suggest improvements in areas that don't always make headlines but matter deeply to pilots. Smarter subject tracking, powered by improved onboard processing, more stable transmission, possibly a new generation system, incremental battery gains, maybe pushing past the current ceiling, enhanced obstacle sensing, potentially with new technologies entering the mix. Still, not everyone is convinced. A large portion of the community believes we've hit a plateau. The Mini series, like smartphones, might now be in a phase where each new version feels like a refinement rather than a revolution. And that skepticism is important, because it keeps expectations grounded. Here's where things get interesting, not because of what we know, but because of what people want. The Mini 5 Pro already set a high bar. For many users, it's good enough in almost every scenario. So naturally, the expectations for the Mini 6 Pro aren't about fixing something broken. They're about eliminating compromises. One of the biggest desires is better image processing. Not just a new sensor, but smarter output, cleaner shadows, improved dynamic range, and more consistent color science. People aren't chasing specs alone. They want footage that feels closer to larger, more expensive drones. Another area that keeps coming up is noise reduction, literally. It might sound minor, but several users have pointed out that newer Mini models have become louder. That's not just annoying, it affects real-world usability, especially in quiet environments. Battery life is also under the spotlight. While current flight times are respectable, there's a clear appetite for more. Even a modest increase could make a noticeable difference during real shoots, with fewer interruptions and more flexibility. Then there's the idea of true professional control. Features like variable aperture keep popping up in discussions. It's not something casual users think about, but for creators, it's a big deal. Having that level of control on a mini drone would fundamentally change how it's used. At the same time, there's a practical side to these expectations. Every new feature adds weight, complexity, and cost. And that's where the tension lies. Because for every user asking for more, there's another saying, don't ruin what makes the Mini special. Some even argue that DJI has already pushed the platform as far as it can go. Any further, and it starts overlapping too much with the Air series. And from a business perspective, that's not something DJI is likely to encourage. So instead of a massive leap, what we might actually see is something more subtle, a collection of small improvements that together create a better overall experience. Not flashy, but effective. Now let's talk timing and pricing, the two things that often bring speculation back down to reality. Based on DJI's historical patterns, a release in late 2026 or even early 2027 seems far more plausible than anything happening soon. The Mini 5 Pro is still fresh, and DJI typically gives its products enough time to breathe before introducing a successor. There's also a bigger picture to consider. External factors, including regulatory challenges in certain markets, can influence release schedules. These aren't things you see in spec sheets, but they matter. As for pricing, expectations are already creeping upward. With all the rumored improvements, it's hard to imagine the Mini 6 Pro staying in the same price bracket as its predecessor. A slight increase feels almost inevitable. The base model could edge closer to the higher end of the Mini lineup, in the ballpark of $800, while bundle options push even further. And that raises an important question. At what point does a Mini stop being a budget-friendly option? Because if the price climbs too high, users might start looking at alternatives within DJI's own ecosystem. And that's a delicate balance. So, is the DJI Mini 6 Pro already here? In a way, yes. Not physically, not officially, but in conversations, expectations and imagination, it's already taking shape. People are debating its features, questioning its purpose, and setting standards that may or may not be realistic. And that's what makes this moment so interesting. We're at a point where the Mini series has matured. It's no longer just about making drones smaller. It's about redefining what small can achieve. But there's also a risk in that. If expectations climb too high, even a great product can feel underwhelming. And right now, the Mini 6 Pro is carrying the weight of some very ambitious ideas, some grounded, others bordering on fantasy. And honestly, that might be exactly what the lineup needs. Because sometimes progress isn't about doing more, it's about doing what already works, just a little better. Thanks for watching.